Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this video. I got to start with this from Bloomberg Crypto. Gary Wang, the ex-coding chief at FTX, who is scheduled to be sentenced on November 20th, has created tools to help the U.S. government detect other instances of fraud, prosecutors said as they push for a lenient sentence. Let's see if this guy gets any jail time. You know, every time they catch someone in the United States, all of a sudden, they seem to give them a job. But this guy is most likely very good at detecting fraud. I'm sure he's seen a lot of it at FTX. An area that we are very much focused on is how our network can be used to exchange, transfer, tokenize value across public and private blockchains, as well as to interlink CBDCs globally. Take a listen to this, coming from the SWIFT CEO.
90% of SWIFT payments today reach the beneficiary bank within an hour, putting the in-flight time well within the G20 goals. And as an industry, we can go even further. Having ISO 222 across the community will drive a major uplift in data quality, which is an essential component for an even better end client experience, but as well, stronger compliance and, of course, innovation. Innovation that is rapidly accelerating here in Asia, as in other parts of the world, where we're seeing big advancements in technologies and business models that, face it, are truly transforming the landscape. Because the reality is in the future, there will be many more ways to move value, not fewer. And people will demand more choice, not less. So an area that we're very much focused on is how our network can be used to exchange, to transfer tokenized value across public and private blockchains, as well as to interlink CBDCs globally, with SWIFT as a single window, creating an end-to-end tracking, transparency, traceability, and trust across all transactions.
So it looks like SWIFT is now ready to push into the digital age. But take notice, he said across public and private blockchains. Now they got the time down to 1 hour. XRP can settle value in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds. And that's going to be hard to beat if you're SWIFT, in my opinion. That's why SWIFT is going to work with Ripple. They're going to utilize XRP and other digital assets as well. I think ISO is going to open up a lot of possibilities going forward for a lot of these cryptocurrencies. Now, there's Elon Musk. He's going to work for the US government. He says we have to reduce spending to live within our means, and you know that necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity. The one thing I don't like about Elon working with the US government is Elon is pushing for AI advancement. He wants to push everything in the direction of robots as well. So when he wants to cut government spending, I think we are going to see replacing it with UBI eventually. That's most likely the path forward. Because once robots start taking people's jobs, people are going to have to get money from somewhere, and they're going to become reliant on the government. That's the only problem I have with Elon. Other than that, he wants to get rid of a lot of federal agencies. 99 federal agencies is more than enough. Elon Musk explains the importance of creating the Department of Government Efficiency. There are around 428 federal agencies. There's so many that people have never even heard of. I think we should be able to get away with 99 agencies. You know, there's most likely jobs at the US government that people never even showed up to those jobs, but they're getting a paycheck from the US government. So let's start there. Let's cut a lot of the waste of money at the government level. US inflation rises to 2.6% in October 2024. But remember, they want you to believe inflation is coming down. They want you to believe that things are getting better. Yet inflation continues to rise. And that brings me to this right here. I've said it multiple times. I not only buy crypto, but I also buy gold and silver. Because I think we're going to see gold and silver get revalued at some point. If confidence in the dollar were undermined and you had to resort to gold to restore confidence, you can't just pick a number. So what would the number be? The answer is around $23,000 per ounce. I want to make sure I'm holding at least some gold when that happens. This is also, a lot of people are thinking about taking profit off of their crypto. A good place to store that value is also in gold. Then people always said, put your money in Bitcoin, hedge against inflation. But you know why most people got into crypto? Because they don't trust the US dollar. They want to make a lot of money. They see crypto as a way to make a lot of money at a very fast pace. Let's put it that way. A lot of XRP holders are about to make a lot of money during alt season. But it's not only that. The other problem I have with Bitcoin is if I want to break away from the US dollar, because I know the US dollar's propped up by nothing, and that's why inflation continues to go higher, and they also print money out of thin air, US dollars out of thin air. What's the difference between the US dollar and Bitcoin? Because they prop Bitcoin up with Tether that's printed out of thin air. A lot of the value that you see in Bitcoin, and the reason the price is where it's at right now, is because it's propped up by fake value. And everybody's talking about Trump making Bitcoin a reserve asset. Here's what Trump knows about Bitcoin. President Trump just nominated John Ratcliffe to be the director of the CIA. You know, the same John Ratcliffe that warned Jay Clayton of China's dominance of crypto and was ignored by Clayton. Jay Clayton proceeded to sue Ripple, the leading blockchain company in the US, and he gave Ethereum a free pass. But they also went on to talk about how Bitcoin is controlled by China. Also, we see Grunfest to Clayton prior to the Ripple lawsuit warning about China threat. Footnotes 3. Letter to Tom Cotton, United States Senator, to the Honorable John Ratcliffe. For those who don't know, Trump just nominated Ratcliffe as the head of CIA. This is the more in-depth what he said. National security considerations are also at stake. Correspondence from the United States Senate to the Director of National Intelligence and to the National Security Advisor regarding national security concerns arising from China control over Bitcoin and Ether underscored the benefits of measured interagency coordination regarding matters implicated by the contemplating proceedings. The Director of National Intelligence has also reported written directly to the Commission's chair regarding this issue and has offered the chair a briefing on the threat to national security posed by the dominance of Bitcoin and Ether, with no effective U.S.-based competition. The red flag raised by national security authorities calls for coordination decision-making with the incoming chair and administration. So Trump knows that there's a problem with not only Bitcoin, but Ether as well. And a lot of people will argue in the crypto space, oh, that's because Trump wants to make the United States a massive mining hub for Bitcoin. But China already controls 55% of Bitcoin mining. And anyone who controls over 51%, they could kill Bitcoin if they really wanted to. But I think Bitcoin's going to face a much bigger problem with the fall of Tether. 1 billion USDT minute at Treasury. Once again, the price of Bitcoin goes up because they take that money, that fake Tether, and they prop up Bitcoin with it. Pro crypto Scott Bessent being challenged for Treasury Secretary by exec under conflict of interest scrutiny over business ties to Tether. Once again, they're pointing at Tether. Lutnick, who is also a candidate to be Treasury Secretary, has touted Tether in media interviews and has said he manages assets for the cryptocurrency. The people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the deliberations are not public said Treasury is looking at sanctioning Tether, which has been accused of federal authorities of facilitating transactions for Mexican drug cartels. Treasury has also publicly pointed to private sector analysis alleging showing terrorist groups have used Tether to move and store funds. They stressed that the Treasury probe predates Lutnick's involvement in Trump's campaign and that the decisions of sanctioning against Tether are unrelated to his political activities. Tether is going to continue to have issues in the United States. The world's biggest joke is being perpetrated on Bitcoin investors into believing it's an asset. The irony about the supposed decentralized Bitcoin market is that it's being propped up by U.S. Treasury debt funneled into Tether, debt propping up Bitcoin. Why would you ever put your money into something that is propped up by U.S. debt? People think I hate Bitcoin. I don't hate Bitcoin. I'm looking out for the guy who goes to work or the girl 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they take some of their paycheck and they put it into Bitcoin because they're listening to talking points on the mainstream media by Michael Saylor and Larry Fink, saying this is the best investment you could make right now. It's up only forever. Well, what is going to happen with Bitcoin when BlackRock decides to tokenize the U.S. debt? Think that's going to happen at some point. Plus, BlackRock now has their own stablecoin, which is also backed by U.S. debt. So BlackRock is now taking over Tether's position in the United States, slowly but surely. This comes from Black Swan Capitalist. The revolving door between Tether, Bitcoin, and the U.S. bond market is very concerning. Tether artificially produces fake liquidity to buy Bitcoin and prop up the U.S. bond market, buying bonds other countries are dumping. Tether is fueling the largest financial bubble in history. And anybody out there that looks into this can see it coming. They see the fall of Tether coming. It's going to come with regulations. But don't take it from me. This comes from someone who founded Tether. Tether by itself, I think, was also a very successful experiment. Brock Pierce, Tether founder. Take a listen.
I started, one of the companies I co-founded is a thing called Tether. And so Tether, the idea was to put the US dollar on the blockchain to give it the same attributes and capabilities as Bitcoin. And the reason for creating that was I saw that eventually central banks and treasury departments would say, oh, technology could be a tool to enhance our jobs, right? A tool that could improve our currency. And so I went around the world talking about this idea, teaching governments around about this idea, educating policymakers, speaking to the public, recognizing that that would likely happen one day. Technology is going to impact everything. Tether by itself, I think, was also a very successful experiment in the sense that there's about $10 trillion a year of transactions being done with it, which means there's demand for such a thing. And so what we have happening now is governments like China and other governments recognize that this idea had merit. They started experimenting with this concept about 3 years ago, and China is on the verge right now of launching a digital yuan. So if you go down to Latin America, if you're in Venezuela right now, the people of Venezuela do not want their local currency. They do not want the bolivar. It's essentially a failed currency. What do they all want? They want US dollars. That's true in places like Argentina and others. Similar in Africa, Southeast Asia. And so right now there's a tremendous amount of demand for dollars for a variety of reasons all over the world. Once there is a digital yuan that is more accessible, I could conceive of a time in the not too distant future where people in all of these places would prefer to have a digital yuan. And I think the US dollar has to stay competitive with foreign currencies. If foreign governments are going to upgrade their currencies and make them digital, I think the US government, I think that we need to be doing something similar with our dollar. Do exactly what Tether has essentially done, but it should be being done at the Treasury and Federal Reserve.
And that's what's going to happen. They're going to shift now. And Tether was a successful experiment, just like Bitcoin was a beta test coin. But now with Trump coming in as the next president, everything is going to become legit. Regulations are going to get put in place. There's no place for something like Tether. We all know the fraud that goes on with Tether. And now there's better coins coming. USDC, RLUSD, and so on. And once central banks do create their own stablecoin, whether it be called the CBDC or stablecoin, that ends Tether forever. So what's going to happen with the price of Bitcoin? It's going to fall. And then all of a sudden they're going to say, well, now that Bitcoin's falling, you're going to have BlackRock and Michael Saylor pushing the idea of tokenizing Bitcoin and giving it a use case on the XRP ledger and other networks. I think that's the end game for all of this. But I'm just thinking out loud. What's your opinion on it? Put it in the comment section down below. But no matter how this plays out, us as XRP holders, we're going to get rich either way because XRP is going to be running on actual value. It's not being propped up by Tether now, and it's not going to be propped up by Tether in the future. XRP is also not going to be propped up by the US debt. Now, US debt might end up on RLUSD, and XRP will be moving the US debt around the world, especially once it becomes tokenized. But you could see the end game already. It's right there in front of you. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.